I get it. I'm an eternal optimist, but you can't make this stuff up. In this video, we're climbing a mountain from good news up to great news. It is so good that you will not want to miss it. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content. Genuinely does help me out. Let's get started with the good news, working our way up to the great news. You are going to be so hyped. I think I am. If you're not hyped, whatever, that's you. But this guy right here, 85, George Kittle, talking about the vibes, covered by Jennifer Lee Chan. You've got to read this. Just listen to this, okay? I'm happy that we don't have a bunch of guys holding out for contracts. I'm glad that we are not having a super drama-filled offseason. I think every year of my career, we've had a quarterback controversy at some point, and to not have that, it is going great. And just when you have everybody in the building, or the majority of the guys in the building, just the energy in the locker room is fantastic. The weight room is awesome. Guys are working really hard. We have a lot of new free agents this year, so you want to meet everybody. You want everybody to get to know you before you get into the grind of training camp. Genuinely, I could probably do the whole video on this. I'm not going to, but I probably could, because I have so many beliefs around the importance of the vibes and how bad they were off season, and I did not buy into it. Like we talked about it at the time. I did not feel like the claims about bad vibes at training camp were legit. I felt like they were a little bit overdone. I thought that they were, like, I think Emmanuel Acho was one of those guys who was talking about it, and there's a lot of people kind of like, okay, come on. But you know what? 100% right. 100% right. You call it whatever you want. You can call it the Super Bowl hangover. You can call it holdouts. You can call it whatever you want. It's probably a grouping of all of those things put together. But the 49ers were not themselves last season, and it showed. You add on top of that injuries. You add on top of that so many things not going right in the coaching. And it makes perfect sense how you end up where the 49ers end up at 6-11. This year is different, and it's been different from the very beginning. The 49ers had to sit there on their couches watching playoff football take place, knowing they had no part in any of it, and knowing that they were out of it for a while. So yes, the vibes are different. The 49ers approach the offseason differently. Everything about what has happened from this offseason going forward is positive. In my opinion, we are heading in the right direction, and George Kittle is definitely feeling it and pointing it out. Let's keep going on 85, because George Kittle also talked about, this is kind of moving our way up, okay? Talked about how he's been mentoring Brock Purdy and talking about this legacy of contract wisdom that has brought down from the top down now to Brock Purdy. Here's what George Kittle said. The only difference is a quarterback's contract is significantly and astronomically different than a tight end's contract. Just trying to be realistic with him and trying to connect it as best I can. Me and Brock have a lot of things in common. Two kids that came out of, no one really had high expectations for either of us, and we both exceeded those expectations. I think he kind of took a rocket ship a little bit faster than I did. Mine was over the course of several years. His was over the course of like 6 games. When asked what kind of advice he's offered Brock Purdy, Kittle recalled a moment. This is David Bonilla, 49ers Web Zone, by the way. I completely forgot to make sure I wrote his name in there somewhere. When asked what kind of advice he offered Brock Purdy, Kittle recalled a moment that his previous contract negotiation and a piece of wisdom he received from former teammate Richard Sherman. The first time I was going through contract negotiations in 2020, it was a long process. And he just said, hey, look, this is Richard Sherman telling George Kittle, hey, look, contracts are like braces. You hate them. They look terrible the entire time they're doing them. But the second you get them off, you have a beautiful smile and a bag of cash, and you won't remember anything about the braces. I was like, that was awesome. And it is exactly how you feel about it. I was thankful to have a leader like that. Sherm gave me these tips, and as long as I can pass those down to the other guys, it's very helpful. It's a great quote Kittle shared. I've used that quote on Brock, and he likes it as well. So George Kittle, just painting a picture for you guys, right, of the camaraderie here, that value that we talked about so many times with George Kittle and why he's not just a great tight end. I believe firmly he's the best tight end in football right now. But even beyond that, he's a leader. He comes alongside guys. He's a help guys up kind of guy. When we've seen it with Deebo has a bad game, George Kittle's sitting right next to him, talking him up. When Brock Purdy throws a pick, George Kittle's right next to him, talking him up. Like, this is the kind of guy that he is, and I just love to see this. So if anybody is feeling the great vibes right now, of course it's George Kittle, and I'm hyped that George Kittle is continuing to extend that leadership and extend that contract legacy, that wisdom legacy down onto future players. I think that's great. It'll pay dividends. But we got to get to this because, you guys, the Michael Williams pick has only aged better every single day. It's gotten better and better. And I get it, all right? I hear you. I hear the critic in your mind that's like, well, but he hasn't even played a snap in the NFL, so let's wait until we call it better. I get it, okay? He has to prove it, right? But as far as we can, from what we have available to us, things have only looked better for the 49ers and for Michael Williams. And the latest is coming out of the mouth of Albert Breer. You guys, genuinely, just listen to this. Like, just listen to this. I think there's a chance the NFL will rue letting Michael Williams get to 11. This was an important draft for the San Francisco 49ers. They're resetting their roster in a lot of areas. And in one spot in particular, they know they'd have a lot of work to do, which is why they got a pretty nice jump in the fall on studying the defensive linemen that would be in the draft. So it was that. When General Manager John Lynch and Directors of Player Personnel Tariq Ahmad and RJ Gillen started diving in on the college guys in the fall, they came across Georgia's athletic freak of a 20-year-old edge rusher. In Williams, whom they have high on their list from his sophomore tape, they saw a long, strong, heavy-handed athlete capable of toggling inside and outside. Like guys they've had play their big end position, Eric Armstead, Arden Key, Charles Omenihu, have in the past. The wild thing is at that point, they didn't even know he was playing hurt. He suffered a significant high ankle sprain in Georgia's season opener, came back less than a month later, and played the rest of the season through it. The Bulldogs didn't want anyone to know. Williams didn't either. But the reality was he wasn't himself, and he was still a dominant run stopper and rusher who, even without the sacks, consistently affected the passer. But it keeps getting better, which means, as I see it, there's more upside here than a lot of people realize. Once they've got into the draft process and involved their coaches, things only ramped up on San Francisco's affection for Williams. Defensive line coach Chris Kocurek, after watching film, called Williams the best edge setter in college football. When Lynch and Kyle Shanahan sat him down on his 30 visit and asked him, third down in the Super Bowl, where do you want us to line you up? His answer was, over the guard, illustrating his versatility and the tough guy nature at his game apparent in how he played through the injury. So this guy, who was ID'd as a future number 1 overall pick when he flashed as a true freshman on a national title team, might have a shot to become that type of player. The Niners' feelings on that were pretty clear when they tried to do a deal with the Carolina Panthers at number 8 and jump the New Orleans Saints, who were said to be smitten over Williams to get him. After his selection was the tip of the iceberg in the 49ers reworking of their defensive line room. In the third round, Alfred Collins, a mountain of a defensive tackle from Texas. The Niners are getting a guy with 85-inch wingspan who might help remind fans there of when San Francisco had twin redwoods in Armstead and DeForest Buckner in the middle. Then, in the fourth round, the Niners got Indiana defensive tackle C.J. West, whom they live scouted at Ohio State in the fall and who, on tape, lived in the backfield for the Hoosiers. With those two at a baseline, the Niners are confident they're getting stout run stuffers with a lot of pass rush potential that still hasn't been fully mined. Combine that with the addition of a bookend for Nick Bosa in Williams, and there'll be a lot of new faces up front for Kocurek and new/old defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. And I do get the sense, they feel like this change will, with a little patience, be for the best. That's Albert Breer absolutely painting like a massive canvas of positivity around the way the 49ers handled the defensive line in this draft. Should certain players be available at certain moments, we probably wouldn't be talking about this. A guy like Kelvin Banks, for example, probably was on their list, but was off before they could draft him. So the 49ers end up in a position where they've got a guy who was projected to be the number 1 overall pick back in the day, who played through injury and still put up pretty decent numbers, who is going to be an absolutely stout and versatile player. You also have Alfred Collins, who's also a versatile player. And guys, what the 49ers are doing right now is the type of thing that it might have a little bit of growing pains, but I feel really confident by the end of this first season, we're going to know what we have in terms of the talent we have in the defensive line, and it's going to be impactful. And I love all of the comparisons to DeForest Buckner, to Eric Armstead. I think these are fair comparisons. Obviously, they have to go prove it on the field, all right? I'm not trying to act like I know something that you don't know. I'm just telling you what I'm reading. I'm telling you what I'm hyped about, and I hope that you're hyped as well because I think the 49ers have made a huge impact, and if you can make a huge impact anywhere, where would you want them to make the impact? In the trenches. They need to do it. They've needed it badly, and they did do it. Yes, it wasn't, defensive line, offensive line, whatever, but the offensive line's already mid-tier, so they don't need to completely destroy the offensive line like they did to the defensive line. The defensive line was empty. They had nothing there. No offense to those who contributed last season during a really tough season, but they didn't have any of the top of the line talent they need to compete at the level they want to compete at. Dude, I am so beyond hyped about this particular group of young men. This is not. I'm not going the Super Bowl thing. Like, I'm not going to say those words. I'm not going to paint that kind of a picture to you. Like, we have, someone, Rob Stats Guerrero was asked about that, like, on what's her show called? I forget what her show's called. Whatever, who cares? He was asked about, like, are they a Super Bowl team? It's like, we don't need to go there, guys. This is a team that's hungry. John Lynch talked about, like, being the hunters instead of being hunted. Like, that's where our mindset is. That's how we should be thinking about the first couple games of the season. If you want to talk about Super Bowl stuff, let's get the playoffs sorted out first. Let's get NFC West sorted out first, because clearly there are people out there in Las Vegas who believe the 49ers are the best team in the NFC West. So let's go out there and prove it. Let's go out there and prove that they're not wrong, that they have good reason to believe that. Let's make it happen. I'm super hyped, guys. I hope you guys are too. We have a few days away from rookie minicamp, and then after that, we are just a few more days away from the schedule release, which is a week from tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So that's 8 days away, which is also super exciting because that's going to tell us everything that we need to know about this already incredible opponents list, right? Incredible opportunity with the best situation in terms of how much talent we're going to have to play, how difficult the opposing teams are going to be. But then when we see the rest differential and some of that kind of stuff, it will be really, really interesting to see how the 49ers get set up, how many primetime games they have, all of that good stuff. Because I think everybody knows the 49ers, well, they should. They don't all know, but they should know. The 49ers are about to bounce back big. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday afternoon.